I checked the baby monitor and heard my name. Not from my husband, but from a stranger. The screen glowed in my hand like a tiny, cruel spotlight in the dark. Our son's crib was right there on the feed, the soft night vision grain, his little chest rising and falling under the sleep sack. Everything looked normal, too normal. And then the sound came through, low at first, like someone had breathed too close to the microphone. A voice I didn't recognize, a woman's voice, quiet and amused. "Is she asleep?" she asked. A pause. Then, clear as day, she said my name. Not a pet name. Not the way my husband says it when he's asking me where the burp cloths are. My full name, spoken like she'd said it 1,000 times. My thumb froze over the volume button and my stomach dropped so hard it felt like the air left my lungs. I sat up so fast the sheets twisted around my legs. The bedroom was dim except for the hallway light spilling in from the crack under the door. My husband, Ryan, was downstairs. He'd told me he was cleaning up bottles and locking up, the normal end-of-night stuff. I turned the monitor up one notch, then another, hands shaking. The stranger laughed softly, like she was trying not to wake the baby. "God, she really named him something that serious," she murmured, and I heard Ryan's voice in response, hushed, urgent, the exact tone he uses when he's trying to sound calm while controlling a situation. "Keep your voice down," he said. "She's upstairs." The stranger made a little sound of mock sympathy. "Poor thing," she whispered, and then she said my name again, almost like she was tasting it. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I swung my legs out of bed and moved. It was a Wednesday night, which matters only because Wednesdays are the nights I always felt the most tired. We'd been married for 5 years, together for 8, and our son was 4 months old. Old enough that he could do long stretches some nights, young enough that my body still felt like it belonged to someone else. I'm Mara. My husband is Ryan. I'd gone back to work part-time at a dental office, which meant I was constantly doing this miserable math between being a mom, being an employee, being a wife, being a person who sometimes wanted 10 uninterrupted minutes to breathe. Ryan worked in IT project management, mostly remote, mostly calls, which meant our house always had the hum of his work voice in the background. I used to trust that hum. It used to be part of our normal. The last few months, the normal had gotten tight. Not in one big, obvious way. In 1,000 tiny ones. Ryan coming home late from running errands that should have taken 20 minutes. Ryan taking calls outside on the porch, even when it was cold. Ryan keeping his phone angled away from me like he'd developed a new reflex. Me telling myself it was new dad stress, that we were both stretched thin, that I was being sensitive because hormones don't just disappear because the baby's out. And then, on a random Wednesday, I heard my name in a stranger's mouth through my baby monitor. I was halfway down the stairs when my brain finally caught up and started throwing up every possible explanation like it was trying to save me from the worst one. Maybe it was a podcast. Maybe it was the TV. Maybe Ryan had a friend over. Maybe it was his sister stopping by, except his sister lives 3 hours away and texts first because she's polite. Maybe it was a neighbor. Maybe I was hallucinating from sleep deprivation. Except I'd heard Ryan respond. I'd heard him say, "She's upstairs." My bare feet hit the cold wood floor at the bottom step and I stopped, holding my breath. The living room was dark. The kitchen light was on. The sound of low voices floated from down the hall, near the nursery. Near the nursery. I walked toward it, slow, like my body suddenly realized running would make it real too fast. The hallway smelled faintly like diaper cream and whatever citrus cleaner I'd been using to wipe down surfaces because I'd convinced myself cleanliness was the one thing I could control. The nursery door was open a crack. Warm light spilled out. I could hear her now without the monitor. "I can't believe you're doing this here," the woman said, still quiet but with that little laugh tucked into her words. Ryan's voice again, low. "Just for a second. I told you, he's asleep." My stomach turned. My hand found the doorframe, fingers gripping hard enough to hurt. I pushed the door open. Ryan was standing by the changing table like he belonged there, one hand braced on the edge. The woman was in the rocking chair, angled toward the crib, her knee bouncing. She wasn't someone I knew. Mid-30s maybe, hair pulled into a neat clip, coat still on like she hadn't been here long. She looked up at me and froze. Ryan turned so fast he knocked a pack of wipes to the floor. The sound, plastic hitting wood, was absurdly loud in the small room. For a split second, nobody moved. The baby monitor camera stared down from its mount, blinking that tiny green light like an accusation. My son slept on, mouth slightly open, completely unaware that the air in the room had changed. Ryan's face was blank, then flustered, then defensive in one breath. "Mara," he said, like he'd just walked into the room and found me here, not the other way around. "What are you doing up?" I stared at the woman's hands. Her fingers were clasped tight in her lap. No wedding ring. Perfect nails. I hated myself for noticing stupid details like that. "Who is she?" I asked, and my voice was quieter than I expected. It didn't sound like me. It sounded like someone trying not to wake a baby while her life cracked in half. The woman's eyes flicked to Ryan like she was waiting for him to translate the situation into something safe. Ryan stepped between us slightly without thinking, like a reflex. "This is Lauren," he said. She's from work." "From work," I repeated, and my throat burned. "In our nursery." Lauren's mouth opened a fraction, then closed. She looked embarrassed. Not guilty. Not panicked. Embarrassed, like she'd been caught in a place she didn't expect me to enter. Ryan's voice sharpened. "Mara, can we not do this right here?" "Right here," I said, and a short, strange laugh escaped me. "You mean next to the crib? You mean the room where I spend half my nights? That right here?" Lauren stood up slowly, like she was trying to be respectful. "I should go," she said quietly. Ryan reached for her sleeve as if to stop her, then remembered I was watching and dropped his hand. "No," he said, too quickly. "Just wait." I looked at him. "Why is she here?" I asked, and this time my voice did what my body wanted, it shook. He exhaled hard through his nose like I was making his night difficult. "She stopped by," he said. "We were talking about work. She was upset about something." Lauren's eyes went wide and she swallowed. I could see her trying to decide whether to play along or correct him. "Work," I said again, slower. "And you told her I'm upstairs." "And she said my name like she knows me." Ryan's jaw clenched. He glanced at the crib, then back at me. "Mara," he said softly, and now he was using the tone he uses when he thinks I'm about to be unreasonable. "You're exhausted. You're hearing things." She asked if the baby was asleep. "That's it." I stared at him. I could feel my heartbeat in my fingertips. "I heard her say my name," I said. "Twice." Lauren's face tightened, and she finally spoke, voice careful. "I didn't mean anything by it," she said. "I just... Ryan talks about you." Ryan shot her a look so sharp it practically had sound. Something in me went cold. Not rage, exactly. Clarity. "He talks about me," I repeated, tasting the words. "To you." Ryan's shoulders lifted in a frustrated shrug, like this was all a misunderstanding I was inventing. "Of course I talk about you," he snapped. "You're my wife." His wife. In the nursery with another woman. I took one step forward. "Why?" I said, and it felt like the question had to be dragged out of me. "Did I just hear you telling her to keep her voice down because I was upstairs?" Ryan's lips pressed together. His eyes flicked away for half a second. That tiny movement, that microscopic dodge, did more than any confession could have done. It told me he was building a story instead of telling the truth. Lauren shifted her bag higher on her shoulder. I really am going to go, she said, and her eyes met mine briefly. There was something in them that looked like pity, and I hated her for it more than I hated the fact she was standing there. Ryan turned to her. Lauren. Don't, I said, and my voice came out sharp enough that both of them flinched. Not loud, but final. Don't call her back. Don't manage this. He looked at me like he couldn't believe I was speaking to him that way. Like I'd broken a rule. I realized, in that moment, how many rules I'd been quietly following without knowing it. Don't ask too many questions. Don't be suspicious. Don't ruin the mood. Don't be the tired wife. Don't be the nag. Don't look too closely. Lauren walked past me toward the hallway, keeping her eyes down. As she passed, she whispered, "I'm sorry," like that word could clean anything. Then she was gone. I heard the front door open and close. The house settled back into silence the way it does at night, except nothing was the same. Ryan moved like he was going to shut the nursery door, like he wanted to put a lid on this. I stayed in the doorway. How long? I asked. His head snapped up. What? He said, offended. Don't, I said again, quieter now, because my throat hurt. Don't pretend you don't know what I'm asking. Ryan ran a hand through his hair hard enough to mess it up. It's not, he started. I waited. He didn't finish. He exhaled, and his eyes finally did the thing I'd been dreading. He looked tired, not guilty. Like I was one more problem on his list. Mara, he said, I didn't plan for you to hear that. I stared at him. My stomach rolled. So it's true, I whispered. He rubbed his face. It's been a few months, he admitted, voice low. It started when you were pregnant. I don't know. Things were different. You were always tired. You didn't want me. The words hit like a slap because they were so familiar, so rehearsed, like he'd been storing them up as justification. My eyes stung. I was growing your child, I said, and my voice cracked on child. I was throwing up every morning. My back hurt. I couldn't sleep. And you decided that meant you deserved her? Ryan's jaw tightened. I'm not saying I deserved it, he said, but he wasn't really denying it either. I'm saying it happened. It happened, I repeated, and a short laugh escaped me again, sharp and ugly. Like rain. Like traffic. Like you tripped and fell into another woman. He flinched at that, and I could tell he wanted to turn this into a fight about my tone. He wanted the distraction. I looked past him at the crib. My son's tiny hand was curled near his cheek. His breathing was steady. In that quiet, something inside me steadied too. Not because I was okay. Because I understood what mattered most now, protecting the part of my life that didn't deserve any of this. Get out, I said. Ryan blinked. What? Get out of this room, I said, voice low and firm. Go downstairs. Go anywhere. But you are not standing in our baby's room after bringing her in here like this is some secret clubhouse. His mouth opened and closed. It's my house too, he muttered, grasping for control. It's my baby too, I said, and my voice didn't waver. And you don't get to make me feel unsafe in my own home. That word, unsafe, made him pause. Maybe because he knew how it sounded. Maybe because he knew it was true in a way that didn't require bruises. He stepped back, eyes hard. So what, you're going to throw me out, he said, like he was trying to dare me. Yes, I said simply. Tonight. You can sleep somewhere else. He scoffed, like I was being dramatic. Then he saw my face. He saw I wasn't negotiating. He turned and walked out of the nursery, footsteps heavy, like he wanted the whole house to feel his anger. I shut the door gently so it wouldn't click. I leaned my forehead against it, breathing through my nose like I was trying not to fall apart. Then I walked to the crib and put my hand on my son's chest, feeling the steady rise and fall, grounding myself in something real. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the rocking chair with the monitor in my lap, listening to the house, listening for the sound of Ryan packing. At some point, he did. I heard drawers. A zipper. The front door. Then silence again. In the morning, my sister came over because I texted her 2 words, "I need you," and she didn't ask questions over the phone. She just showed up with coffee and that tight, protective look she gets. I told her everything in broken pieces while the baby gurgled on her shoulder like the world was still safe. I changed the Wi-Fi password. I changed the locks later that week. I called a lawyer because I needed to know what separation looked like with a baby involved. I called my therapist because I needed someone to help me keep my mind from turning into a loop of blame. And I turned the baby monitor volume down sometimes because for a while, every little crackle of static made my stomach flip. The strangest part wasn't the confrontation. It wasn't even the confession. It was realizing that the tool I used to keep my baby safe was the same tool that exposed the lie. Like the house itself couldn't keep his secret quiet. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. And if you've ever had the truth slip through in some accidental way, a speaker left on, a monitor, a wrong call, a message you weren't meant to see, share your story in the comments. I read them, and it helps to know you're not alone when the moment you find out is also the moment you have to stay steady for someone smaller than you.